And we're back. It's good to be back again, you guys. I actually got a chance to go out this weekend and see a new movie, which is a rarity in January. Usually it's a pretty dry season. Um, but I actually got to go out and see something that I'm a huge fan of this weekend, and so that's what I'm going to be talking about today. I went out and I saw Greenland 2 Migration, and I'm a big fan of the Greenland series. So, back in 2020, they released the original, and it actually came out to pretty good reviews and a 77% on Rotten Tomatoes, starring uh, Gerard Butler and Marina Baccarin. And so, those two people led the charge in what was at the time one of the better ones that came out during the COVID era, and a blockbuster, seemingly during a time where those were few and far between because of the pandemic, making things interesting and difficult for uh, the film people. So, but that being said, today I wanted to talk a little bit about the series. I kind of look at these two movies now, having seen the second one, as almost a part one and part two type deal. Seemingly, the first one, you had them actually retreating to Greenland. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. And then the second part picks up after they came out the first time, and there's a narration explaining from the main character uh, that from John, where we're picking up afterwards because of the aging of his son and kind of the aging all around of the different characters. It kind of picks up from there. It says it's been about 8 years since their first excursion, when they came out of the bunkers. And so 8 years later, after retreating underground, and enduring multiple failed attempts to resurface, the film itself and the series will resurface. Now, it's not been 8 years' time in actual time in our world. It's only been about 6 years since the release of the original. And this one is coming out to pretty good reviews. It has a 6.0 on IMDb and a 54% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is about what you can expect nowadays as far as sequels go, to something that came out to rave reviews originally. You can expect to see a little less resurgence as far as, we get to see something that is better, but it's still just a sequel. But if you look at it like I do as a part one and part two, it's actually pretty decent. Gerard Butler and Marina Baccarin come back and brave the frigid box office and the changing global climate on sequels to deliver a pulse pounding post apocalypse blockbuster. Is something that I wrote down in my notes. This sequel doesn't attempt to be anything too grand. A lot of the plot points are very samey for the genre, but I think they're well done in the sense of there are shots um, from the director that are just really well thought out, and the thriller genre struggles with keeping the thrills to a not trying to punch it too hard and make it too jump scary, but still make it a very grounded sequel, as that usually goes. It's kind of few and far between as far as you can count on a very good sequel in the sense of jump scares, but sometimes it's a little too much, like they're trying to overcompensate for something that's missing. This movie doesn't try to do that at all. I actually believe that in that sense, it actually does extremely well, where it doesn't overly try and be something way different from the original, and it keeps to its roots. And so, in that sense, I think it does a really, really good job. It does deserve a great deal of praise for keeping itself very grounded. While many end of the world sequels struggle to justify their existence as a whole, this film rises above the fray to round out this series in a very meaningful way, and it succeeds by grounding the spectacle um, of just the whole world building that they did throughout the first one, the political tensions as they set up, along with the actual meteor itself being something that kind of struck at the heart and made it so it would seemingly be kind of a, oh, let's just stop and you can assume what you want to happens after they exit the first time. And you kind of wonder, what's this sequel going to be? How are they going to pick up where they left off? It kind of left itself on a pretty good, like, you don't have to do anything with this plot ending thing. It wasn't like there was a cliffhanger at all, and it wasn't like they ever promised a part two um, to continue to end something. But in this movie, we're actually given somewhat of a paradise lost Eden, um, very much so plot where they're moving towards something that is the end all of the first one, which is that you can't stay forever, of course, in the bunkers because of the changing terrain and political tensions and the fact that supplies will at some point run out. They have to move from their safe place and move towards the paradise lost in this film, which is the Clark crater actually creates itself to be somewhat of a green space in this film, which is not surprising, but it is just a very good plot point to put something kind of at the heart of what ultimately destroyed the first one to make it now kind of the salvation of the characters in the second one. I think is a really good choice there. Almost brings it full circle. So we get a lot of meaningful relationships in this one as well. I think that's hard to do to make characters meaningful in a sequel, especially the main characters in the Garrity family. Usually it's really hard to not go too cheesy. I think this one does a really good job of balancing itself out to be very meaningful and heartfelt still. Um, while also hitting a lot of the same plot points that you get where, someone's sick, someone's dying, someone really wants to explore, there's a lot of tensions there. I was afraid that they would bring back the same tensions from the first one, being that, you know, a struggling family has to push through all of their drama to move forward in a collapsing world and in a meaningful way try and reconnect. I thought they would try and hit that plot point again because it worked so well for the first one and end up in a worse spot. But this one actually creates its own tensions in that way. So, which makes us truly care about their survival all over again. And somehow they do survive. There are a lot of moments where you wonder how in the world are they going to get out of this? And they somehow do. So, but I think it works in a really meaningful and good way. Why it works, I think, is because there's a lot of atmospheric stakes. The growing political tensions between the Western Alliance and I think they call themselves the Eastern Resistance in this movie builds a war platform outside of this whole, Paradise Lost scenario that they're all um, hoping to get to. And usually that wouldn't work well because they would focus way too much on the war tension, but I think it's enough of a plot point that it's just kind of a passing thing. Along the road, there's different things that they pick up throughout this story to kind of keep the stakes high and keep the relationships meaningful, and also it doesn't also hurt that Clark has created a atmospheric tension for the entire world to keep everybody kind of moving so that the plot doesn't become too sluggish throughout just meeting too many people or focusing way too much on what everything means and becoming too much in its own lore. I think it actually works in a way that it shouldn't, in theory, which is that it kind of keeps itself moving because of the threat of fallout from the original comet, and the fact that there are just so many skirmishes going around the world between different gangs of people and marauders and different things of that nature that keep the plot moving in a very good way. So the visuals actually worked, I think, the best for me in the sense that the film features some really just breathtaking landscape shots that are fantastic camera work. I mean, there's those scenes where you're just going through fields, and there's a really cool battle scene that takes place during night where all you see is just like almost fireworks in a sense going off around you that make it feel very tense and grounded. And so it's not just the same old there. Uh, and it definitely demands to be seen, I think, on a big screen. This one I got to watch on just a normal digital screen at a theater. I didn't see this one in IMAX or anything too spectacular, but I think it works well, even on just a digital Dolby Atmos screen. In the sense of it's just the normal platform for most theaters, and it's not the big 4K or IMAX type screen. But I think it works well there. And obviously, it doesn't help that the director definitely knew how to use those camera shots to keep moving uh, the audience to just go, wow. There are multiple times where I found myself just like, this is really good. The graphics were extremely well done. I think all the scenes that had definitive CGI and green screen moments didn't feel super out of place or super obvious. They definitely worked well with their environment. And so the set shots that were just moving across a place were really well done and were so well grounded in their world that they didn't feel like they just shot this obviously on a green screen in a room. So that was definitely part of what made it work for me. And then there was a lot of good nail biting moments throughout the film that actually kept your heart going. The script was well written. It definitely hit a lot of, beautifully written original plots. And there are some admirable moments that are very original to, again, this kind of end of world scenario movies, but I don't think they don't work, and they actually fit well on a high level tension that keeps itself going throughout, like I said. Ultimately, this is a home run, I think, for the early year in the box office, as we're looking at, probably a breakout for what would usually be a January blues type moment at the box office, where the movies during January and February are kind of a low point before we hit the spring, summer, and then ultimately fall. And then, of course, we're looking at just a year of hits. And I think this home run definitely sets us up for a continued motion of just nonstop awesomeness throughout the year that I'm certainly looking forward to, and my wallet is begrudgingly making room for. I definitely saw some really good hopefuls for the rest of January. There's that film with Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien, Send Help. I saw a commercial for. There's some other ones that I'm looking forward to as well coming out later this month. I still need to get out and see Primate is out and has some rave reviews about it being a really good horror film. I did get out to see right before the new year ring in. I got to see Song Blue, so I'm hoping to cover that one soon in video format. All these reviews are up and out on my Letterboxd media. I would encourage you guys to go over there and follow me. I do have those links up there, and if not, I will put them in the link in the description for this video as well. You guys can go follow me there. Please like and subscribe. Let me know if you went and saw Greenland and what you thought. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, please engage in the channel. It matters so much to the algorithm. And if you like this video, go and watch another one. All right. I highly encourage you guys to go watch my top 10 part 1 and part 2 for the movies of 2025. I noticed recently that the part 2 is not getting as many views, and so I encourage you to go watch those two videos. I'm proud of both of those. And anything I haven't covered yet will come later in another video. And so, but that's it for today. I just want to talk about that movie. Very good movie. I would encourage you guys to go see it in theaters. Obviously, support local theaters if you can. Get out to go see this one in theaters. Please do so. It's definitely well worth the drive and the wait through the commercials. All right. Have a good one.